you remember the lead up to the PlayStation 2? It was so powerful. It had an emotion engine and some kind of SPU processor thing that ran in parallel. I don't know what any of that means, but it was so futuristic. It was a PlayStation 9. It promised graphics that none of us had ever seen before. An amazing, amazing machine that could fulfill all of your dreams. And of course, it was a great system, the most successful system ever. But there were also two other systems that generation, and most of us picked one system or had them all, but really sort of gravitated towards one. But it doesn't mean that the other two didn't have some amazing, amazing experiences. And in addition to that emotion engine, the most powerful system of all time, there was this huge black and green box. I'm not sure why green, but the rumor is that Seamus Blackley only had a green marker sitting on a plane while designing the original Xbox's look, and it was the most powerful system ever. But there was a little lunchbox called the GameCube. It had a handle. It was purple, and it had a handle. I mean, you could carry it with you if you happened to go somewhere where you needed a lunchbox that wasn't a lunchbox, but was a box that was a cube that played games, and it was called the GameCube. And that's where I want to begin this video. Have you ever looked back on a generation that maybe you played one system and kind of maybe ignored the others, or didn't spend as much time with those systems, and now, much, much later in the future, when you're a bit older, you look back and you think, that system that I thought was the best really wasn't, and maybe I should look back on those other systems and appreciate some of the games that they had. So that's what this video is going to be all about. Now, I have to admit, I had every system, but later on in the lifespan of the PlayStation 2, it delivered on that promise of the emotion engine. It was going to make you cry. It was so powerful. And this game in particular is the one that did it for me. I remember waiting with bated breath for any information I could possibly get on this game, and I read every single magazine that I could to get that information. Back then, we had to read magazines to get information. There wasn't this thing called the internet, and when the game released, it was absolutely incredible. It's got multiple Guinness World Records. It's true. You can go look it up. I'm not making it up. The first fully realized open world on a console, Jak and Daxter, was an amazing game. It delivered on that promise. It was an incredible experience. But that's not to say that the big black and green box didn't have something up its sleeve to make me look over to the right and say, I think I need to get that console. What game was that? I bet you know what it was. What was it? What was it? If you saw a movie called Aliens, not Alien, you kind of get a sense that it's modeled after that, and it's a little game called Halo Combat Evolved. It was incredible, and I didn't need a memory card. What? What is this thing called a hard drive in this big black and green box? Yes, a hard drive on a console. You could actually save your games without buying a memory card. Incredible. And this game really delivered on the promise of the Xbox. It's one of those games that really showcases the power of a system right at its launch, and that was so important, particularly for the Xbox as a new player in the market. They needed something, and this was the game that put the Xbox on the map. I remember seeing this for the first time and just being completely blown away when you walk out of that shuttle onto that world, and it's so huge and open and colorful. I remember walking up to one of the big boulders and thinking, that looks like a big boulder. The closer I get, the more detail there was. It was incredible. And I looked back to the left at the emotion engine in the PlayStation 2, and I said, why aren't you doing that? It didn't answer me, thank God. But I appreciated another console, and then I started to play a little bit more on the Xbox. But then the little blue lunchbox. Yes, it was more powerful than the PlayStation 2, but less powerful than the Xbox. And when I looked at that, they had some games that were just absolutely incredible. You see, when the original GameCube was used by developers because it was more powerful than the PlayStation 2 and less powerful than the Xbox, that meant that you got games that were just absolutely incredible. You didn't even expect it to be, so when you got them, it was that much more amazing. And this game, Star Wars Rogue Squadron, blew everything else away, even games on the original Xbox, because it didn't do as well and it wasn't supported as much. But that didn't mean that it wasn't a good console too, and that's why I made this video, because I'm looking back at this generation and realizing that maybe I didn't spend enough time with certain systems. How about you? Do you ever remember loving a system and then years and years later you look back at that generation and you say to yourself, I didn't spend enough time with the other system and it has really good games, and then you realize, you know what? I think I like that other system better than the one I swore was the best system in that generation. For me, looking back, the PlayStation 2 just had so many games. It was incredible. There was something for everyone. But all these years later, looking back at the original Xbox, the GameCube, and the PlayStation 2, I have much more of an appreciation for what the GameCube had to offer, more so now than I did then. And I think you're probably the same. So let me know, in that generation, the original Xbox, the GameCube, the PlayStation 2, what was your favorite console then and now? Has it changed that you're able to appreciate the games that the other systems offered? I'd be interested to know. I think you're going to be just like me. Let me know down there in that comments section. Think about hitting that like button, maybe even subscribe to the channel. I would love that. And I will see you all in the next video.